Hello, world! It's been a while since I've made a video, but 2 weekends in a row was a holiday. Spent time with the family, didn't have time during the week. Work was busy, and then my grandma died, but it's alright. She was 100 and like super racist, but that was a funeral over the weekend, and then more busy nonsense at work, and it was just 2 weeks chock full of me not being able to make a video. And then, of course, I realized that the video I wanted to make, which is inducting Fort Frolic from BioShock into the Level Design Hall of Fame, has already been done better than I will ever do it by Mark Brown on the Game Maker's Toolkit, which is maybe the best video series on game criticism I have ever witnessed. And of course, I'm gonna link it, and of course you should watch it, and of course he's smarter and better, and is a better talker because of his fucking accent. Everything about it just makes me jealous, because he does everything so goddamn remarkably better, and it's hard in the age of the internet to, like, put out, like, good new ideas and interesting ways of phrasing things, and interesting ways to sort of perceive and stuff, and just there's always someone doing it better. And I always hear advice, oh yeah, just put out your own stuff and make find your own voice and just do it. And it's just like, but no one gives a shit. There's just too much fucking content on the internet. But I'm on enough Zoloft to kill a small horse, so here I am, making another video just because I am bored and need to do something with my life. Anyways, this level makes me satisfied, more so than doing this video. Fort Frolic is the best level of BioShock, and BioShock is, arguably, it's the best game of that generation. I think BioShock is just fucking masterful everywhere. Of course, I would say that. I always say hyperbolic things. I only do videos on games I love and are obviously loved by everybody, critically praised to the high heavens. Like, there's no real, like, hidden gems that I can, like, throw at you that you haven't already witnessed before. But it just feels so wrong to do weird levels for the Level Design Hall of Fame instead of just going for the obvious ones, and this is such an obvious one, in a game that is just chock full of great scenes and moments and levels. This is just the end-all be-all. This is my favorite section of the game, and it's both a mixture of the story and how this is like this cool little sectioned off mission in between, sort of right in the center of the first half of the game being a big mystery and the second half of the game being like a big deconstruction of game stories. And it's the prettiest, and it's the most colorful, the most lively, it's the funniest. And it is just, like, obviously the most sort of stand out part about this game of a world that is falling apart and leaking and sort of just tragically ugly and beautiful at the same time. This is just straight up fucking gorgeous. And Sandra Cohen is terrific, and you can make of him what you will. But just from, like, the standpoint of what you're actually doing quest-wise is just the most unique and interesting out of anything you'll do in the entire game. It's not like a huge departure, but, like, it just happens to sort of change things ever so slightly with having to do Cohen's whatever the hell he wants you to do, like being at the mercy of his whims and taking photographs of the people who have wronged him, and finding out more about what was sort of going on behind the scenes with him and Andrew Ryan, and the whole, like, Frozen section, and it just, like, there is just so many, like, perfectly paced things along the way that make this goddamn level so memorable. And for me, it's actually just the layout of the level, like the big circular sort of miniature hub world, and the different spokes that you sort of go out in, and how everything sort of interconnects, and the very treacherous frozen sort of tunnel that connects the separate parts, and just the fear going into every single store, like every shop, and having these, like, cement-ridden statues, and some of them are real, and they bust out and they, you know, scare the shit out of you. Like, that's just like the perfect, like, tiny thing that doesn't happen a ton, but when it happens, it just totally makes you paranoid for the rest of the level. And all the while, there's like a Big Daddy just sort of trolling around, like, you know, different levels of like the department store. So of course you're like, all right, normally you would be the big threat here, and I'd be very afraid, but like, I am so just in the weeds with other crap going on, Big Daddy. I'm not even gonna bother with you until later. Like, you are the least of my troubles, and it's like the only level where that happens, and I think that's really great. I also feel like there's like more areas in the shops and stuff to lay traps, so I feel like it's the most methodical that you can sort of be. Like, it's a good ways into the game where you have a lot of powers, and it really gives you a lot of opportunities to like hack the flying security robots and turrets, and just use the elemental powers and stuff, and you can get really into the crossbows and setting the traps for not just like the splicer ambushes in each store, but just like the Big Daddies that are just sort of like walking around while there's a lot of other crap going on, because sometimes you'll want to like just isolate them and just fight them in one part of the game, but like not really super easy to do in Fort Frolic. And there is just something so delightful about Epstein, the fortune teller, like right at the beginning. God, I love him. That just, you know, it's just, there's this nice dark humor. It's just, everything is sardonic. It's Sander Cohen being fucking super weird and artful, and the neon colorful signs and capitalism and selling you stuff, and the strip club and the casino and all the fancy shopping and all this stuff. And it's just like, it's maybe my favorite sort of clash of cultures between like what it used to represent and mean and what it is right now, and like what is going on with all these horrible monstrosities of human beings, and like what all of this shit has done to them, both literally and figuratively. And yeah, it's hard to retread the same ground when other people have obviously covered this, again, more eloquently with a better accent. But that doesn't mean I can't still chime in and agree with them in my own weird way. I also just really like, yeah, like the hey, here are your prizes. They're right here. You can come back when you're done. And because you're staring at them, but you can't get them. And Sanders Cohen Office is like a whole thing that if you can figure out, that's like a great reward. Being given new stuff every time you come back and put the photo in the thing. I think the first time I played this game, I actually like did all three and then came back, and it was like one prize after the other, and I was like, oh man, like that would have been better to sort of get it paced out, which meant less time for the goodies like the crossbow or whatever. And then yeah, again, he walked down the stairs, and the first thing I did was attack him because the reticle was like, hey, it's an enemy, go shoot him. And then the second time I was like, what if I don't kill him? What if I just let him keep talking while he walks down the staircase at the end? And then befriended him, and that was really cool to see him later on in the apartment complex or whatever. So yeah, this is one of my favorite games ever. A couple of years ago when I worked for geekbinge.com, which may or may not still be up, you can read the old content that's archived. Internet history is weird. We did a big survey, a big ranking thing with the staff that I put together of like the greatest games of that 360 generation, and this was number one, and I was so on the train of we need to make this number one. This is just not only a masterpiece of epic proportions and obviously had a large influence on things going forward, but I just like playing this game so much. Like everything about this game, it just like speaks to me as someone who just likes the mechanics, like listening to the audio tapes and finding all the secrets and upgrading all your stuff. Like just like every single bit of the actual core of the game, like it's just like, that's just my favorite. Like it's just like, that's just comfort food. It's like, oh yeah, I would totally do this in any other location with any other sort of story, but it just happens to have all of the best everything: art design, you know, music, characters, voice acting, all this stuff. And yeah, I don't feel bad whatsoever that things like Red Dead Redemption and The Last of Us and a couple other games, you know, fell behind on that list. But this is, man, this is the bee's knees right here. This is the perfect mixture of gameplay, inspiring story and story influence and gameplay, and those two things being so tied together, you cannot remove them. Whereas if you looked at like The Last of Us, like I'm sure you could have come up with like a different combat system or like tweaked like what you were actually doing, and the story could have sort of stood on its own. Whereas like you shoving in plasmids is so integral to like the plot and like the themes, and the little sisters and big daddies, like everything is just so perfectly like synergistic. God, I hate that word. You couldn't take one out without fucking up the other. So yeah, Fort Frolic, it's the greatest. Just level design and mission wise and location wise, like it's just everything. It's just so, oh god, it's like it's impossible to replicate. It's so fucking perfect. So I'm gonna stop rambling. You can follow me on Twitter at Jared Russo. I'm going to try to do more of these. Man, it is getting so hard when you become an adult and there's just no time for anything. Like, you just want to get home and play games, and the whole day you're just like, God, I want to get home and play games. And you get home and you're like, fuck, I'm tired. I have to go to sleep and wake up for fucking work. It sucks. It sucks so bad. But yeah, so hopefully I'll do more Level Design Hall of Fames, and once E3 starts revving up, doing more videos on other nonsense, on the other series, which you probably don't give a shit about if you're watching to the end of this. But I have another series other than Level Design Hall of Fame. It's called Experience and Content, which is literally just whatever comes into my brain, and it's most likely just a weird satire, jokey thing. But I'll probably do some E3 predictions and analysis, which again, everyone on the earth will do. But you know what? I don't care, because I'm right and everyone else is wrong, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you for watching. Go play BioShock.